Hi everyone, my name's Michelle Bond and I'm an acting superintendent in the tactical capability team with the Australian Border Force. I've been with the Australian Border Force for over 20 years and I've worked across a range of different roles throughout my career. I've been leading teams on and off for more than 15 years. I love the opportunities that leadership brings. But if I'm honest, one of the biggest challenges of leadership for me is having difficult conversations. So what do I mean by difficult conversations? Well, generally it's a conversation that makes you feel uncomfortable, or perhaps a conversation that might make someone else feel uncomfortable. As a leader, it might be that you need to raise concerns about poor behaviour or performance of a team member. It could be responding to a complaint or grievance raised. It could be about addressing a conflict or difference of opinion. It could involve raising an integrity issue, or it could be sharing bad news with someone about a change to their current role or a hoped for promotion. It's also likely that in your career so far, you've been involved in difficult conversations with your own managers and leaders. If you actually think back to one of these situations, ask yourself, how did the manager or leader handle this situation? How did it make you feel? How did you respond? And if the conversation went poorly, what could the manager have done differently? What could you have done differently? What would have achieved a more positive outcome? If the conversation went well, how did the manager or leader achieve a positive outcome? How did you feel and how did you respond when the conversation was handled in this way? As a leader, you have a responsibility and a duty to have these difficult conversations, but I challenge you to build your skills so you are more capable in the art of having these types of conversations. I challenge you to be courageous and to make these difficult conversations less difficult, not just for yourself, but for your team. Earlier in my career, I admit to shying away from difficult conversations. I really didn't like upsetting people and I really hate confrontation. And I felt that raising sensitive topics could break the trust between myself and my team. I felt worried that I might not be able to manage if the conversation got too difficult or if either of us became very emotional. So for me, I must admit that I'm definitely not an expert, but I really am constantly trying to learn and build my skills and confidence to approach these conversations. So today, I'd love to share a few of the key lessons I've learned along the way, through trial and error, through reflection, and by observing how other leaders approach this tricky aspect to their role. So my first suggestion is, don't wait, but find the right time and location to have a difficult conversation. While we sometimes want to put off the difficult discussions, it's definitely much easier to do it as soon as you start to have concerns about an issue or see early signs of conflict. The longer you wait, the worse the situation can become and the harder it can be to manage and resolve. And this can have a negative impact on both people and productivity. Also, think about the logistics of the conversation. And I recommend that you have the conversation face-to-face. Definitely don't do it by email or telephone. Choose a private location where others can't listen. Make sure you won't be interrupted and allow sufficient time. My second piece of advice is to prepare for the conversation. Ensure that you have a clear understanding of the problem that you want to resolve. Make sure you know the facts of the situation before approaching the employee. And think about the situation from your employee's perspective. So put yourself in their shoes. Participate with an open mind and genuinely seek to understand the situation without being set in your assumptions. And if needed, seek involvement from a manager or a human resource officer. And if you do that, the employee should have an option to bring a support person too, so make sure you offer this to them. And in this category, I would also make sure I kept good notes and good record keeping on the conversation that you had. One of the biggest challenges as a leader in initiating and leading a difficult conversation can be managing your own emotions. So some of the steps I recommend are approach the situation rationally and objectively. Don't be angry or defensive, because this will rarely give you the outcome you want. Think about what your body language is saying. Is it showing the person that you're ready to talk and listen? Use a calm tone of voice. And don't make promises you can't fulfill just to try and diffuse the employee's emotional reaction. And try to be very clear and direct with your communication. Employees are likely to feel nervous, defensive, sad, frustrated, or afraid when they're having a difficult conversation. So for me, one of the most important considerations when we're about to have a difficult conversation is to remember to be compassionate. So how do we be compassionate? Well, we do this by showing genuine interest in what the employee has to say. So use our active listening. Express support and reassurance. For example, say something like, I can really see this is hard for you, and remain calm. When we have a difficult conversation, we have a duty to support our team member to find a way forward. And I really encourage you to look for solutions together. So this could be arriving prepared with suggestions about ways to move forward and resolve the situation. You can invite the employee to make suggestions for an outcome and be willing to be open to find a different solution. I must say that as much as I feel challenged by having to have these difficult conversations, they're often a real test of my leadership skills. I always take the opportunity to reflect and learn after these encounters. And I ask myself, what went well? What didn't go so well? What could have I done differently? And what can I actually learn from this to make sure that I do it better next time? And my final suggestion is to change your mindset. And I know this program is really all about changing our mindsets and becoming a more adaptive and agile leader. So I urge you to normalize difficult conversations. So what do I mean by this? And what do I mean by normalizing difficult conversations? Well, I mean, keep the communication channels open for regular, informal, one-on-one conversations so that issues can be dealt with as naturally as possible. And I mean, be approachable and keep in touch with your team so they can see that you are ready to listen. And this also means they will be more likely to come to you with problems before they escalate. Unfortunately, difficult conversations are a normal part of life. And honestly, conversations are critical for managers. So if they're handled well, these conversations provide you with the opportunity to resolve workplace conflicts quickly and efficiently, lift employee performance and engagement, and improve relationships with your team. I respect you are all emerging leaders, and I really encourage you to courageously approach difficult conversations. So today I've shared my ideas and tips with you. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts. I want to encourage you to share your suggestions in the comments section below. I wish you all the very best on your leadership journeys, and I sincerely hope our paths connect again in the future. Thank you.